All you beautiful, wonderful people. Welcome back to another draft. Today we've moved on from Duskmorn and we're covering some foundations. This will go pretty quick, and then we're getting into more of the new stuff. So, we'll get to Aether Drift sooner than you think, sooner than I think, and that's okay. But for now, we're just gonna see what we can do with foundations. So this is my like first recording playing it, and I'm just excited to see what kind of excellent cards we can draw. So let's get it, and I hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or whenever it is that you find time to keep me company. First pick of the first pack. So we do have a rare black creature, which isn't bad. My only issue with him is like the use of him has some contingencies that can be hard to fulfill in draft. So I'm taking a look at some of the uncommons that we have available to us, and I decide to go with a Johnny's Pride Mate. And then we get past like a rare cat, and we also got past a creature that has lifelink on him. I decide to go with the cat. A Rabo himself. So now I'm just kind of looking at what else there is. I think Painful Quandary is like a great card. Unfortunately, it just feels a little bit slow in standard, in my opinion, and definitely in draft, because it's like Painful Quandary will do work if you're already sort of ahead and winning. It can just put the clamps on the game a little bit faster. But if you're ahead and winning, you're ahead and winning to the point where you don't necessarily need that card to secure victory. So I think a lot of that just comes from this format being a lot quicker and having less of an opportunity to play a lot of like big spells that do more work the longer that they're around. Cause at 5 mana in these kind of formats, usually you don't want to be setting up some extra stuff. And like I say usually because there's exceptions, but um to build a deck that actually like utilizes a 5 cost enchantment long term, usually you're not gonna be able to pull that off in draft because you don't really know if you're going to get the specific cards to help that thing shine. So it looks like right now we're getting into the black white classics that I do enjoy. Uh, so we have a little bit of ways to like gain life and lose life, and then we have a couple ways to exploit gaining life. So we have our one creature, our vengeful blood witch, for example, who like when he attacks, the opponent loses a life and we gain one. Like that can trigger the Ajani's Pride Mate. So that's a little bit of the vibe we're going for. And then I did pick up the Good Fortune Unicorn, um, because it was the best card at that time, and it's still pretty early in draft. Like if we wanted to pivot, we could, I guess. But if we want to splash for like a singular green, I don't think it would be the end of the world. So we are looking at what else we get. First strike can be nice, just to help your creature uh, be able to like attack or block more easily. I was also thinking about the Death Touch creature, just because Death Touch creatures are great at slowing down an opponent and kind of like gumming up the board in a good way for us. We're getting down to the end of all the packs. I'm still like reading a lot of these cards because they are still pretty new to me. I don't know a lot of them. I'm not one of the big content creators that gets invited to do these events early. So me doing a first draft and filming it is actually me seeing the cards for the first time. Which may skew my success rating here, but we'll see. Sometimes you can get like beginner's luck, and sometimes you just find good cards that work together. So it is what it is. All right, second pack. Here we go. Oh, we got Tiny Bones. I love Tiny Bones as like a character and a design. I think he's flavorful and his art is always like fun and or adorable, depending on your tastes. But the thing with him is that in draft, he's like really hard to pull off because he wants the opponent to have a lot of stuff like in the graveyard and getting things discarded. And even though in this set there are cards that tell your opponents to discard cards, they're not as saturated as you would like it to have Tiny Bones be consistent. And if your whole game plan hinges around a singular card, sometimes that makes your games inconsistent if Tiny Bones like gets removed or if you don't draw him. And in draft, people usually burn through their hands just because these decks aren't like well optimized. So if you have a whole deck full of like discard effects, pretty soon they're not going to really do that much. So we're looking at the vampire here. Oh, and we decided to take a second one. I love seeing Progenitus in a set, but there's not really a way for us to do anything with him right now. I think for standard Progenitus works best when you can like cheat him out, say with like a smuggler's surprise or something. I'm thinking about Phyrexian Arena versus the Healer's Hawk, because the Healer's Hawk is really good at like giving you a trigger of life gain every single turn, unless your opponent's playing a bunch of flyers and you can't remove them or something. But I decided to go with the Phyrexian Arena just so we have some amount of card draw in the deck. Because one card that draws you cards is better than none. And then we picked up Sarah Angel because even today that card seems to be putting in some good work in drafts. That's my assumption anyway. Like I haven't seen a lot of flyers that are bigger than her, and her having vigilance is really nice. Alright, so for this pack we have another Fleeting Flight, we have Fake Your Own Death, and then we have the Reassembling Skeleton. I do like Fake Your Own Death. It can be pretty powerful. So we're looking at another flyer. And we decide to take the colorless guy. I took the colorless creature. Oh, sweet, a healer's hawk. I took the colorless creature because that creature allows you to, if you need to, like go grab a land, so it can help if you're only getting like one color over another and you're really cramped with lands in general. Alright, so we have a removal spell for big creatures. We'll take that. Death Touch creature came back. Vampire Soul Caller does let you grab a creature card from your graveyard, which late game you're pretty much always going to have something in there. Alright, not bad. This looks just like our first pack, the Abyssal Harvester and then the Ajani's Pridemate. So the Inspiring Paladin's okay, but it doesn't necessarily have as much synergy with our current game plan. The Luminous Rebuke is nice, but I think having a second Pride Mate would be more helpful here. Rise of the Dark Realms is fun, but I think it's for draft. It's just really hard to actually play. Right now I'm thinking about, do I want the removal spell or do I want like another hawk? And I feel like at this point I'm light on removal. So I'm picking more of those. And it feels a little bad because I doubt either of those hawks will come back to us, but so I'm thinking, do I want a third vampire, Gourmand, or do we want a land in our colors? That is the thought here. And I decide to go with another vampire, okay. I'm looking at the Inspiring Paladin simply because of the mana cost that it has. But I feel like it may be filler. I do like the idea of equipment in this deck because if you buff some of the small creatures like the Healer's Hawk, they can stick around a lot more and do a lot more work for you. And we got another creature that has triggers that gain us life. And we're deciding to sideboard the unicorn. So we have enough good pieces to where I don't feel pressed to play the unicorn here, which I kind of like because having no lands that can give us access to more than one color at a time, I feel better just having two colors in my deck. So I'm looking at the amulet because it does say draw a card. I think the thing about it that's like somewhat worrying to me though is that it doesn't feel like a lot of my creatures are fodder. It feels like a lot of my creatures want to stick around so that through life gain or other means they can get counters and get bigger. Which means that like sacrificing them willy-nilly won't necessarily extend my game plan or help it in any way. Oh, the land came back to us. That's cool. These colors must be a little more open. Okay, all right. Not bad. I'm actually pretty happy with the cards we got. It feels like some of them have good synergy. So I'm gonna take a minute to get my deck in order, and we'll come back once Past Me has an idea of what she's doing. Here is the deck. We got our Singular Healer's Hawk, which is a pretty good card in this deck because we have two of the Ajani's Pride Mates. We also have the Cat Collar, which says whenever you gain life for the first time during your turn, you get to make a cat. And then we have a Rabo, so we're doing like a mini sub, maybe cat theme if we draw the right cards. And then we have other ways to gain life, like the Vengeful Blood Witch, the Sunblessed Healer has life link. We have two different Gold Vein picks to, I guess, help with mana, but also just get the smaller creatures that we want to swing with to get like life gain triggers a little bit bigger, maybe protect them slightly. Um, and then removal, we're doing okay. We have two Heroes Downfalls and a Make Your Move. A Fake Your Own Death, if you play it right, can kill another person's creature. The only thing about this deck is that like we don't have any big creatures on the top end. Like our the biggest stats we have is with the Sarah Angel, who's a 4/4. So we really want to get the little creatures down and then give them the triggers and the time that they need to get bigger incrementally, like over the course of the game here. All right, first hand of the first game. We have 3 lands with our dual lands. We have access to 2 pips of each color, which is like pretty good. We only have one little creature here, but our deck is full of little creatures, so the likelihood of us drawing another one is pretty okay. And we just got Phyrexian Arena, and I'm happy to play that on turn 3. That's like a pretty great turn 3. Because the earlier you play that thing, the more likely you are to get like a good advantage off it. Whereas if you play it on turn 7, you're just not going to draw as many cards off it in a game. Alright. So we'll get that down and going. And the nice thing about having like a life gain themed deck is the pay a life to draw a card every turn isn't gonna feel as bad as it could with some other decks. Okay, we got a land and another land. On the bright side, we can definitely play Sarah Angel next turn. And now the thought is, what do I want to do? I'll probably play the fake your own death and try to get some creature off the battlefield. Unless they bounce it, so never mind. So I was just making sure that fake your own death doesn't give it like hexproof or something. So it looks like I will be taking 4. Alright. Draw a card, lose life. We have a removal spell. So now the thought is, do I want to play Sarah Angel, or do I want to play the little creature and hold up some stuff? And I decide to go with Sarah Angel. We'll see what they do. Oh, okay. Okay, we got a removal spell. That's nice. So we did draw our flyer that pulls somebody back from the graveyard, but we don't have anybody in the graveyard. Okay, I'm thinking about playing Hero's Downfall. Probably on their Archmage of the Runes there, so that they don't have access to card draw every time they play an instant. There's no way for me to know how many, like, instants or sorceries they have. But they probably have some. Or they're gonna go find one. Okay. Eaten Alive. It's a good card. The problem with them playing Eaten Alive is that it exiles. So we can't pull the Sarah Angel back from our graveyard. And that's a little sad. I decide to block the Merfolk, even though he has a smaller power right now, because if they play a lot of instants, it can get counters, and then eventually it may be too large for me to handle in the future. And we are drawing a lot of lands. So now I'm just like walking through my options here to see what like the best thing I can do is. I think I'm gonna play the Vampire Soulcaller. He can't block, so he doesn't feel like as good on this board. So because he can't block, I'm thinking about playing Eaten Alive. Just to get 4 power off their side of the board. So they're gonna hit me for 6. Phyrexian Arena will take another life from me. What's interesting is I haven't gotten like any of my life gain pieces yet. And that's kind of scary. Well, there's one. But the thing now is like they don't even have to do anything. They can just sit there and pass. And then we just like die to our own arena. And I think that's kind of like better or worse, some of the beauty of like the variance in Magic. It's like I built a deck that has a bunch of life gain pieces and we didn't even get one till the very end here. So it is what it is. You know, there were some plays that I maybe could have done in a different order to like better combat this opponent in particular. But I think this game also kind of shows the power of doing tempo plays where like you're not permanently removing something on the opponent's side, but you're putting them off balance enough to where they just feel behind the whole game. Like that big fin bouncer they played made it so that they always just kind of had more stuff on the board than me. And so it's like even though we were both playing permanence every single turn from that point on, they just seemed to like have more. And it made their removal spell feel a lot more effective at that point. To be honest, I'm not really even sure like why they decided to attack here. I'm thinking the opponent was too busy doing calculus on their end to understand that I would have just died to Phyrexian Arena. And I think that happens a lot when you're doing like a newer draft with newer cards, is sometimes you don't always catch everything. So we still have our life gain creature, which is nice. We have a cat collector, which gives us a food. And we are in sore need of life. So we'll play him, give us a food, and then it turns out we have enough mana to also play the Pridemate, and then crack the food, and equip the Gold Vein pick. So we're gonna put the pick on our life gain creature. We're gonna swing. Even if he dies, it's worth it. We get 4 more life, and that's a big deal right now for us. Come on, Mr. Platinum Rank, what are you doing? Okay. So we gain 4, and we get a few triggers here. So we got our cat for turn. We can still crack the food to gain life whenever we want. It just won't gain us like an additional cat because it says once per turn. Oh, they quit. Okay, good game. Second game. Opponent goes first again. But, second game. This time we have our life gain pieces in our hand, which is nice to see. So we'll play the tap land later. I'm not worried about it. I just want to get the Hawk out on time. And then since I don't have a 2-drop, maybe we'll play the tap land now. Discard a card. All my spells are really good, so I think we're just gonna pitch a Plains. And that way we still have access to at least 2 sources of any color of mana that we want. And I didn't put down the tapped land. Not because I forgot that, like, I didn't have a 2-drop, but I think I'm waiting because some of my stuff says when you gain life for the first time this turn, do this. And the tapped land allows you to gain a life. So it kind of makes sense to try to hold on to it if, like, I'm not pressed to get untapped lands on the board in a certain order. So we have a little 2/2 cat token. And they're getting rid of a Rabo, which is a bummer. But 1/1s can still, like, block everything on their board, which I think is kind of interesting. Okay, next cat card. Let's do it. We play the Collector. We're gonna play our land, gain our life, make a cat. Ooh, that's pretty good. It would feel really cool if all our cats were like tutus instead, but it's okay. It's okay. Play our land we just drew. Put the pick on our hawk. That's not bad. And then we'll see if our hawk actually gets through here. Okay. So now we make a cat and a treasure. Not that we need a lot more mana at this point. And I decide we're just gonna develop the board more instead of hold up our removal spell. They play a bigger flyer. Alright. Let's get rid of that. And now we swing with the hawk. So we make our cat. Make our treasure. And then we could play the Soul Shackled Zombie if we cracked our treasures there. But I think I wanted to maybe instead, like, crack a food. Or I want to save my treasures in case I draw something more expensive. And we drew land. Not the most impressive thing in the world. Alright, so we're gonna use the zombie because we get a little life gain trigger, and that'll give us a cat. We are holding on to that food for as long as possible. So I can't swing with my hawk, he's too little. But if we make this other creature a 2/4, it does ask them if they want to trade to, like, lose one of their smaller creatures in a double block. And it looks like that's what they want to do. So, that's okay. Play our planes. Put the pickaxe on somebody else. And just put it back on that hawk. Alright. I think this is kind of when you see the power of, like, when you're playing a board full of little creatures, how impactful it is to have something that has stats above just 2. Like, that 3/3 is actually, problematic for us. And so one of the things that I was doing is I was trying to, like, pick their life off just enough and get just enough cats on my side of the board to where I could, like, go wide and get around their blockers. And now they have a cat maker. So it's a little concerning, but we can crack our food. And we'll gain our life. We'll make a cat, and now we have a 3/3. So part of me is wondering, like, do I swing with this guy? Okay, we made him bigger so the Savannah Lions on their own can't take him out. Okay. And I'm okay with this trade because that creature more or less, like, did his job. But their board being 2 creatures smaller than mine makes it a little more likely that I might be able to, like, get around them if I keep finding ways to trigger life gain. And a land was not it. We do not have mana problems. So we're thinking, and by we I mean past me. And I think at this point I'm thinking, like, do I want to pressure them into, like, trading creatures with me? Or do I want to just relax and allow us to both kind of stabilize and turn this into who can draw, like, a better card scenario? I decide to see if they'll offer a trade here, because the Ajani's Pridemate is like a really tempting target since the assumption is he's gonna keep getting bigger. But any pieces that they would have traded with would have been like worth getting off the table in my opinion. And here's the Vampire Gourmand. So this is kind of the perfect board for him. Next turn, when he's not summoning sick and we swing, we'll just start sacrificing some of the little cat tokens, and he'll allow us to take a bigger advantage. Okay, let's see if they feel like trading this time. They're just gonna... okay. They don't want to trade. But they did use, like, a really big pump spell to take out one creature of ours. I'll count that as a win. Because we just got, like, probably one of the most powerful cards in their deck out of their deck. Oh, we got another Pridemate. That's cool. Alright, we'll play him. Okay. Alright, so we have our little 3/3. We're gonna attack. And then here we go. We're gonna sacrifice a cat. So now we get to draw a card, and he can't be blocked, which I think is really important. We do have Eaten Alive. And we don't even have to sacrifice anything. We just have so much mana. Okay. That's one of their problematic flyers out of the way. Not both, but baby steps. We'll take it. And they quit. Good game. Here we go. That tap land is just one of the MVPs of this deck. We're getting it like every game. it's actually really nice. Okay, so which 2-drop creature does Past Me want to chuck off first? I guess we'll do the vampire. Alright. And I think we decided to go with the vampire. Simply because we don't have any of our like life gain pieces, so it's not the end of the world if we don't get like the Sanguine Siphoner off the ground right away. And we're gonna see if they want to trade. They do. That's okay. Like 1 creature for the price of 2, like that sounds pretty okay. And it sounds a lot less okay now. We can't play the Phyrexian Arena, which is a little bit sad. And there was no way to know that they had a Scavenging Ooze, but that thing's effectively like a 5/5 at this point. So that's why he's a rare card. Now they just play green mana, exile a creature, and it gets bigger. So they have access to 2 green mana, they got 2 creatures in their graveyard. That thing's pretty much huge. So we'll play another creature. Just develop out the board a little bit. Don't attack unless you're gonna sacrifice it. Yep, okay. So what we're doing right now is we're kind of digging to try to find an answer. And they had an answer. Okay. Well, they let us draw our card, which is nice, I guess. Exiling more things from more graveyards, eh? Okay. Still no 4th land yet. But we can make a chump blocker, you know? A little token cat. That's not the worst. Okay. Alright. I think what really did us in is simply not drawing one of our kill spells. And not having a second black mana, but that's the variance of the game every now and then, you know? Now the problem is with the way all this is set up is I can really only do like one spell. Just because of the way the mana is. So at this point we're low on life. We can't seem to find a kill spell. Their scavenging ooze keeps getting bigger. So everything kind of worked out the way that they wanted it to. And then we got our removal spell too late, and we still don't have a second swamp. So at this point, there's really nothing we can do. But past me was just double checking that fact. Alright, good game. Here we go. Next game. We got both our colors. We got some life gain triggers. So when we do hit our life gain synergies, they should do okay. I like this hand. I think it's nice. We got another swamp, so we won't have problems with having enough black mana. Okay. With their little Phyrexian lands, they're so cute. Alright. And we won't have problems with mana in general with that second plains. So now, the goal is simply to not draw dead. And just get some good spells to go with these cards that we have here. I don't think we've played against a black-red deck yet, so we'll see what they're up to. But life gain is an okay thing to have against these red decks with all these little like pinger cards in them. Okay, they're gonna attack. We are not blocking, because there's no way they don't have something, right? Another land. So we're good on lands, we don't need those for the rest of the game. We're gonna swing with both. And I'm okay with swinging the creature, the Sanguine Siphoner. There we go. Even though they got blocked, just because of the life gain trigger, and being able to still ping the opponent for 1. Looking back on it, that could be pretty irresponsible because now the opponent can attack us for 4, whereas if we just held back the Sanguine Siphoner, they could swing with both, but they'd only get 2 through, so... But with the 2 life gain we got from our creatures, it negates 2 damage from one of their creatures, which is kind of the same if it got through, so it's like... it's roughly equal. Okay, they're developing out their board more. And we got another land. Great. We're gaining life, they opt to block, which we're not worried about. Got a card out of their hand. And we trade, which is nice. We took some damage on the way out, but... and their creature comes back, of course. So we'll kick the Sunblessed Healer, get the most value out of it. And now this is where, like, we really do need to draw a better spell. Just something that isn't a land. Because at this point, if we draw lands, we're kind of just drawing dead. So we had... I mean, it's a spell, but it's not... Right? It's not the worst. If we put the pick on the hawk, we can get 2 life per turn and put them on a clock that's twice as fast. And then next turn, we can pay the Eaten Alive cost without having to sacrifice a creature, because we'll just have enough mana. Okay. That's not bad. Especially because their deck is putting out, like, so much damage. It is nice to be able to gain, like, a little bit of life back every single turn. But what would be excellent at this point is to draw some of our good pieces. Like if we got the basically any of the cats, actually. I was gonna name one in particular, but any of the cats would be good. The Sarah Angel would be good. Another removal spell would be nice. Okay. They're gonna gain some life back and ping us. Oh, and they're gonna give a haste. Okay. So I have a choice here. Alright. And that's not what we needed. That's pretty rough. So we're gonna get rid of their creature that keeps getting larger. So that my creatures can handle things. Then we're gonna gain life, and we're just gonna try to put them on some kind of a clock here. Because we have nothing in our hand, so pressuring them is really all we have at this point. And our life total is doing, like, okay. Midnight Snack is rough for us to see, because now they have a way to gain life, and we're just drawing nothing but frickin' lands. So at this point, attacking with the 2/4 might actually have been a mistake, I would say. But when we don't have spells in our hand, it's like, there's really nothing we can do regardless of what we would want to do. Like, they won this game when we drew our 6th land. So, like, at this point, I would put both the pickaxes on the hawk and swing with the hawk. And then I would just leave the siphoner back. But I don't know if I'll catch that line. Oh, okay. So we do catch that line. Okay. Alright. Gain some life. Make 2 treasures, sure. So the thing is, like, I could leave both the equipment on the hawk and then not attack, and then I could block the dragon. But the second I don't apply pressure to them, it's not only likely that I lost, it's also just actually losing. Because applying pressure is like all we have. this point. But every turn they get to poke me with something, they get to gain 3 life, and even if I stopped attacking them, I have a suspicion they would still throw something my way just to get the trigger to get the food. Because with them not drawing dead, like us, they're drawing more spells to play and more creatures to play when they attack with someone and throw it away, so... It is what it is. I mean, just sacrifice a treasure. Oh, or say... I think I was just mad at that swap at that point. I was like, I'm so tired of... I'm so tired of drawing nothing! What lands? So I just chucked it. Which is okay. It's not the biggest deal in the world. The nice thing is, they hit me with the dragon and that's 2 damage. But I hit them with the hawk and I gained 3 life. So, even though they're just gaining their 3 life back every single turn, I'm weirdly, like, not experiencing, like, a really bad clock from this. Okay, so they eat a food. The nice thing about pressuring them, too, is that, they can't stockpile the food, because the Midnight Snack says, like, if you gain a bunch of life, and you pay the 3 mana to sacrifice Midnight Snack, your opponent takes however much life you gained. And so if they were in a position where they saved up a lot of food, and then they happened to draw a bunch of land or something, they could actually deal, like, a lot of damage to us. Or if they hit us enough through their attacks to eat, like, a food and then deal another 3 damage to us sacrificing their enchantment, that would be, like, a problem. But I am happy we drew something, right? Like, we got a creature, and they took one of their creatures off the board. Problem is, every time they have a non-creature spell, it hurts. Like, a lot. Okay, they decide to keep the artist back. Because he does get a trigger for, like, attacking. Yeah, just sack a treasure. Nice. At least we can handle all those. Okay, like, I'll take that draw. That's a decent draw. So we can play him, move both the pickaxes to the hawk, swing with the hawk again, gain the 3 life. But now instead of just gaining life and, like, prolonging the inevitable, we can also gain the life to put a counter on the Pridemate. What am I doing? Yo, what are you doing? Oh, do I want to swing with both creatures? I think I want to swing with both. Alright. That way we get 2 life gain triggers. So we don't gain as much life this turn. But we gain more life this turn. Okay, they drew land. And a kill spell. How convenient, they draw what they need right when they need it, right? Alright, well. It's like I said. We were... And there's a land. We were dead the second we We drew our 7th land. Alright, good game. Okay, so we have a 3-land hand. I kept it pretty quick, but we have a 3-land hand. We have 2 black mana available to us. It's like it's a pretty decent start. We're playing the vampires straight off the bat, so if I later play something I want to sacrifice, I can. Because he needs to be unsummoning sick and have the attack trigger to sacrifice stuff. Now, I have choices here, but I decide to go with a Rabo so that we can, like, get the board really wide and just apply a lot of pressure. And then we'll play, like, the Phyrexian Arena a little bit later. There, Swamp. We do have choices. I could put the Gold Vein pick on somebody, and then if they connected, we would get a treasure and be able to start stockpiling mana. But we'll see what they do. I feel like they have something at flash speed or instant speed here. Although I don't know what that could be. Alright. In the response! Let's see if they're gonna use another... Okay. It's kind of nice to get that bird out of the way, too. Just because being able to shuffle through your library like that, it can really set up your draws, especially in draft, to have an advantage over the opponent. I think it's time to draw cards. The thing, though, is if I draw the cards, I can't also play and equip the axe, so what we want to do is we want to put the pick on somebody, and then be able to have them connect, so if they trade with the creature, fine, but we're gonna make sure that they don't. Okay, we got our mana, so now we can play our arena. And we don't have our cat token, but it's okay. So now we draw extra cards. Alright, first thing we'll do is play the Healer's Hawk. Go to attack. Sacrifice the Hawk, draw a card. Now they can't block. Alright. So we're okay with sacrificing the Hawk for a couple reasons. One, we can bring it back. And 2, we don't have, like, creatures that depend on life gain triggers right now. Alright, good game. Here we go. Next game, we have 2 lands. So the goal is gonna be play our 2-cost creature, and then work on getting more mana. So we got a 3rd land, which is pretty sweet. It's not a second black source of mana, so our options are limited to playing a Rabo or putting the gold vein pick on our creature. I feel like it's likely we'll connect. Usually people want to keep the Hungry Ghoul, because if you sacrifice stuff with his ability, he gets 1/1 counters and grows. Alright. Now we have 2 black mana. Okay. Death Touch is a little bit more of an issue here. So we'll see if I play some creatures and sacrifice one. To draw some cards and get some unblockables. Or if I just want to develop my board more. We'll see. Okay, we drew a land. That's kind of nice. play a Rabo. 2 bodies, 1 card. And another creature. This creature is kind of like a nice include with the vampire, because if we sacrifice something, the opponent gets pinged and we gain a life. It's just another little benefit. Oh. I mean, if they want to make sure that their death touch creature can't block, I'm fine with that. That does not bother me. Okay, they play another blocker. Oh, we got another creature. How nice. Play a creature, go to combat? Combat. Swing with big vampire, sacrifice the little guy, because we don't need 2 of them, we're doing fine with just the 1 at this point. Okay, they take a damage. We're down to 10. Alright, I think it's about time. Yeah. Get some card draw. Hopefully keep drawing into more good creatures to play on the board here. And what's really making us, like, our deck hum smoothly right now. I'm gonna feel bad if I accidentally jinx my past self here. But it's just that they haven't been able to remove my unblockable vampire. I mean, that's a good response. And we opt to take 9 damage. Alright. With the Phyrexian Arena, we're effectively at 8 life. If we sacrifice something, we can gain a life. Oh, now we're lower, because they're gonna have us lose 2 life, and they're gonna go up to 12. Okay, so we're at 6. And they still have some kind of a blocker. Well, that's spooky. Okay. We have nothing in our graveyard to reanimate with the Vampire Soul Caller yet. But I could sacrifice a Rabo and then get him back in my hand with the Soul Caller. If I want to. Hello? What are you thinking about? You only have 1 mana. You gain a life. That was actually a pretty okay card to draw, because it gains us more life and it puts another body on the board that can, like, block some of their aggression. Because at this point we're kind of in, like, a precarious spot with how wide their board is. Okay, we get another treasure. So we have access to 8 mana. 8's pretty good. They have a rune-scarred demon in their graveyard, that's scary. Okay. Calm down. That's a nice spell. So we play zombie, we get rid of their rune-scarred demon. Just in case they can reanimate it. I could play a kill spell right now. Before the turn ends. I think it might be useful. The problem is they're gonna sacrifice it to make the hungry ghoul bigger, so it feels a little bit like a loss, but it's going from 3 bodies to 2, or 4 bodies to 3, excuse me. Which makes it like a little bit easier to block, because part of the problem is just with how wide their board is. But drawing the hungry, the soul shackled zombie, that was actually like really, really lucky. Really good for us. I'm happy to see it. Alright, they're thinking. They're gonna stab my creature. Okay. At least we gain a life from it. Sweet. We're at a whole double digits again. Okay. So my guess is we opt to block somebody. They're gonna sacrifice it to the hungry ghoul. And then when the hungry ghoul hits 4 power, we can get rid of it with the make your move. I think that's what I'm thinking about here. Alright. Let's see it happen. They do nothing. Well, if I don't play that, I take a whopping 9 and Phyrexian Arena kills me. So, yes. we do need to do something. So I think what they're doing is they want their creature to trade with my big creature, and that way I don't have anything on board to sacrifice to my vampire. Yeah. But we went from taking, like, definitely lethal damage to only taking 6. And that feels a lot better. That feels pretty okay. They have their own Phyrexian Arena. That's interesting. Ugh. Oh, that was such a good draw. If I play the pick and I hit them for 4, their arena kills them. That's such a good draw. I hope Past Me understands that. I know I say I hope Past Me does this and that a lot, and that's because like the time between which I do the voiceovers so that you have somebody who's like talking with you. Uh-oh. No, play the pick. Find the line. Don't do it. But the time between when I play the games and do the voiceovers is long enough to where, like, I don't remember every detail of every game. That's a lot to ask sometimes, you know? Oh boy. I didn't see the line. This could go very south very fast. I don't like this. I found a different line. Look at me making stuff more complicated than it needs to be. So we're gonna attack with the vampire. And then we're gonna sacrifice the Blood Witch. Or the guy that can't block. So they still die to their own Phyrexian Arena. Jeez. That's a close game. Alright, good game. Okay. Not a good opening hand. Not at all. That's a lot better. But what do we put back? Okay. Yeah. Get rid of our one piece of interaction. Yep. Hopefully we'll draw another, otherwise this might go south. But I think I did that because I would rather have, the Phyrexian Arena. and part of me wanted to make sure I kept the creatures in my deck. I'm getting flashbacks of the game where we drew like 12 of our 17 lands without getting halfway through our deck. Oh lord. I feel like past me is just gonna play Phyrexian Arena next turn, and we're gonna try to get around the fact that we just have, like, not ideal draws here. The beetles are really scary to see, because next turn, if they play something with 4 power, they have 2 3/3s on the board. And that might be scary. And they don't. I would trade. I got a reanimation spell in my hand. I would do that. Yeah. Okay. Take that. I guess the name of the game is Stall. They had a third beetle. Oh my goodness gracious. Hey! Well, we can't play her though, which is kind of like blurred. Okay. Why are the draws so awkward and lackluster for me? I will trade again. You better believe it. So the Macabre Waltz lets us take 2 things back from our graveyard. That's why I didn't play it last turn. For those of you who are curious. We have choices. I'm kind of tempted to, yeah, play the zombie, gain some life, put up a blocker. The Sarah Angel is more mana efficient, and it might be a more long-term blocker, because instead of trading, it'll just actually block something, which could be really nice. Okay, they played an elf. I bet they wish they had that before the Dwynen's Elite, but, you know, beauty of draft. Everything's a little janky. Okay, we have options, and we slightly stabilize. They're not being aggressive. Playing the pick is kind of nice, so we have a 5/5. With Vigilance. I'll slap him pretty hard right there. Sweet. Okay, we have 4 mana left, so we could play either of our 4 mana cards or both of the 2-cost ones. I feel like playing the Vanguard Seraph is a good setup turn, because any creature you play after that will allow us to like develop the board more, maybe. Because if like the 4/4 flyers stabilize the board, then like the 3/3 also looks like a problem for them until now. And it all has trample. Maybe we should have played the zombie that gained us life. I don't know. But it has left toughness, so like you tell me. Yeah, there's nothing we can do about a good overrun. Alright, good game. -3, we were so close to stabilizing. Jeez. Alright, well, there you have it. 4 wins, 3 losses. um, I'm actually happy with that. You know, draft has a lot of variance. It's hard to know what cards are good when you're playing like a new draft format and you haven't seen a lot of these cards before. You haven't done the repetition or watched other people do the repetition or read about it to like understand which combos are like the most consistent and easy to pull off, like which color combinations generally perform okay, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of like approaching draft this way. I know that because it's using gems and gold and all that, like it can feel like a big deal when you lose, because it's like a lot of in-game currency that you're losing, but I actually enjoy approaching draft just from like a blank slate and trying things out because one that's kind of like the beauty of draft is like a big gamble to see what you get, try out new things, see what you like and don't like, but I also very much subscribe to the idea that like it does make you a better Magic player in the way that you play Magic because like everyone plays Magic different and they have their own styles and certain cards make more sense to them than others. So like even if another excellent long-standing player kind of tells you their 2 cents on which cards are good and aren't good and which playstyles are the most fruitful in terms of like getting wins and having higher win percentages, it might not be true for you just because as a player like the other person's playstyle won't be intuitive to yours. So even if you have the same deck, you won't be able to have it perform the same way. So anyway, that was really fun. Uh, if you want to see double, you can check me out on my Patreon. Every time I upload a video here, I upload another video there. And we're doing foundations over there too. And then we do foundations next week. And then we're done with foundations. So thank you all for keeping me company. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time in a brand new video.